Welcome to everybody. Welcome to the Unity Verified Solutions Partner webinar. My name is Sylvain Claude. I'm a Unity Senior Client Partner. Presenting today with me will be Brian Meir from Odin, Oz Siad from Backtrace, and Ed Hartman from Helpshift. I will tell you a big thank for you to spend some time with us in your very busy schedule. We'll show you how to recoup that time by using these solutions that we're going to be presenting. Before starting, we wrote the VSP, which is Verified Solution Partner. What is a VSP? When creators are faced with real-world challenges, they turn to Unity for real-time solutions. That's why Unity created the Verified Solutions program. All of our partners have passed rigorous technical testing, appraisal, and quality assurance processes to deliver a reliable workflow across Unity projects. This webinar, the first of a series, will be an overview of those three products. There will be a calendar of webinar coming soon to go deeper on each of the solutions. Can you give me next slide, please? I forgot, you see the three presenters now, Brian, Oz, and Ed. Next slide. So the reason this session, by the way, this session will be recorded and shared with all of you at the end. We will have a Q&A session. Please type all of your questions in the Q&A section. Now, why did we choose Odin, Backtrace, and Helpshift among the different VSPs that we have? We believe that those solutions combined together give you the best experience for developing your games. What's going to be presented save time, make developers happy and better at their job, increasing the quality of the dev and quality of life, lowering the risk to launch new games like everybody wished that we could do. You have the development, and as you can see on the chart, you have the development, then the launch, then the new releases. These tools don't come and go. They are useful through the whole life cycle of the game dev from beginning to the end, as you're going to be able to see during the presentation. So without further ado, I will pass it on to Brian to kick off with the Odin section, which you will see definitely make your life easier, your production faster and more efficient. Odin is a Unity-only plugin that, in my view, is almost essential. So Brian, pass it on to you.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, Sylvain. Thank you so much. And special thanks to Helpshift and Backtrace. Working with your teams has been a really great thing for us, and putting this on. And thank you for bringing us into this this webinar. Also, thank you to everyone that's here, taking time out of your day to be here. That's awesome. So let's get going. Hey everyone, my name is Brian Meir. I am one of the partners here at Serenix. We also have our CEO Tor on with us here today. He's going to be answering questions at the end. So Serenix, who are we? We are the maker of a popular plugin for Unity launched in 2017, and it's how most people know us. It's Odin Inspector. That's the product that people know us by. It's been a very, very popular tool that's been on the asset store for years, and continues to be a popular tool for Unity developers. So we're going to talk about that today, talk about our products and how they contribute to delivering the best game experience for your players. So I added this quote here on this front slide from our friends at Amanji Studios because they mention here how Odin frees up time to focus on what really matters, and how they went from taking days to minutes in part of their workflow. And I think this quote conveys nicely the impact that Odin has in the life cycle of your Unity projects, and feeds nicely into today's topics and today's presentation. So what we're going to talk about in our segment is moving fast but without breaking things, and how to easily configure ways to free up time to work on the things in your game or your project that really matter. And this idea for moving fast without breaking things, it stems from the sort of common idea that we should move fast and break things, and we think without breaking things is a better way to do it. So we'll start by spending a few minutes going over the Odin products, what they are, and some key ways in which they work. So next slide here. on the next slide here. First of all, our products, they consist of Odin Inspector, Odin Validator, and Odin Serializer. First, we'll briefly touch on the Serializer and the Inspector, and then spend most of our time talking about Odin Validator. We're super excited about that because this is where the idea of moving fast without breaking things comes in, and it's also, you know, less familiar to our community. So we're super excited to talk about it today. So let's start with the Serializer. One way it can be described is a tool for storing and retrieving data. You know, Unity projects, they can be made up of sophisticated data structures that they're not always supported out of the box with Unity. This is where the Serializer comes in. For serializing those data structures, and it gives you the ability to serialize just about anything, you know, and a lot of people, they like it because they can use it to serialize dictionaries, which is kind of a big deal for a lot of people. So I'll point out quickly also that it's free, it's open source, and it can be used independently of Odin Inspector and Odin Validator. Moving on, we'll talk about Odin Inspector. So at its core, Odin Inspector is a tool for modifying and creating data. Building custom user-friendly editor or tools in Unity is time-consuming. It takes an ongoing effort to maintain them, and often it's not done for those reasons. I mean, people just won't make them because they take too long or they're too difficult to make, and it's just not in the budget to do it. So we think that with without good customized tooling, projects will be subject to more time constraints. They'll be more likely to be experiencing ongoing issues with bugs and errors throughout the project's life cycle. So these bugs and errors, you know, as we all know, they're major time suckers, and, you know, they make people frustrated. With Odin, you get a huge set of tools that make it easy to make custom editor and inspector windows in Unity, you know, without having to write that custom editor code, which is so time consuming to do. So now custom tooling is easy and fast to make in Unity. That's with Odin. We like to sometimes refer to it as a giant toolbox for making tools, or like a Swiss Army knife for game developers. Now on the next slide, we're going to show you a quick example of it in action in Unity. So what we're showing here is our custom RPG editor window. This comes with Odin out of the box, and it's a great way to get started with Odin, and you can kind of piece it apart and pick it apart and modify it however you'd like. And it's just a great way to get used to using Odin right out of the box. And you can see, you know, probably some of you can see here, like making something like this in Unity without Odin would probably be very difficult to do. I'm sure you can all imagine that. People that are familiar with custom editor code, editor code. So also, maybe you can imagine when you see this, how much time, you know, it could save in a project, right? So teams in Unity projects, they often consist of a variety of skill levels beyond developers, like artists, designers, and such. And, you know, we think one of the best ways, you know, to work efficiently in Unity is with custom tooling, like we said earlier, you know. So you do need your team to want to use those tools too, right? So we made Odin in a way that it makes it so that you can make tools that are easy to use, right? So if a designer, an artist, or other members of your team, you're not likely to use the tooling if it's not easy to use, right? So that's another important thing that we want to point out. Custom tooling, you guys can save so much time, especially if it's a large project, and then there's lots of people working in it. So now we'll spend some time talking about the validator, which again, we're super excited to talk about here. With the validator, you can significantly speed things up while at the same time eliminating bugs and errors, those pesky bugs and errors. Short description for it would be the Odin Validator is a tool for making sure all the data is correct. That's the easy way to say it. When making games, it's easy to make mistakes, right? So, you know, while great tooling helps, it can only get us so far. You know, validating that things are set up correctly is a powerful way to catch and eliminate those bugs. So we developed the Odin Validator for this reason, right? So I mentioned earlier, we're excited to talk about it today, and that's because it's kind of a sneak peek at the big update that we've just recently made for it. So you guys are getting a first look at some of the power of the Odin Validator, which we're excited about. So we sort of had this epiphany last year that the validator can do so much more than it was already doing. We've had the validator for a while. We thought, hey, this could do so much more. And so we kind of just stopped a lot of what we were doing and focused on rewriting it from scratch. We actually rewrote it completely from scratch. I was told by my developers that they rewrote it 3 times. So that's pretty awesome. And it shows when you use it. So with the validator, you can scan your entire project for errors and use the out of the box validators or make your own. You can customize the out of the box ones or make your own specific to your project and your team. You can probably already imagine the kind of savings this might, or the time savings this might save for you. On the next slide, we're going to go over the key ways that we think the validator works in your project and show you it in action in Unity after that. So we're going to discuss what we think are 6 areas the validator saves time, works to keep your projects error-free. First, you can scan your entire project. Scenes, folders, assets, and so on. You can decide how, when, and when you want to scan and pretty much customize it however you'd like for your project and your team. On the fly issue detection. While you work, Odin Validator silently scans your project in the background. And this can also be adjusted. If you don't want it to do that, it's fully customizable however you want. You can kind of see in the image here on the slide, it kind of looks like and feels similar to what we already are familiar with the Unity console. We made it that way on purpose so that people would just instantly, feel comfortable with it, right? You can also see here how some of the options and gizmos that are allow for easily customizing and how and when you can scan the projects. If you look closely at that image, you can kind of see some of that. You can integrate the validator into your CI pipelines. This is huge. Having the ability to easily automate running handpicked validation profiles on build, on play, on project startup, or from a build server is a powerful way to keep control over your projects and the bugs and errors that inherently come, when you configure those pipelines. This is done through an API. It's easy to use and invoke from your own code anywhere you please. The power of bulk fixing. This is one of my favorites. I think this is where the validator is really just going to make a huge difference for Unity developers. You can create validators that detect issues, and you can choose to offer fixes for them. I'll give you an example. You ever have a situation where you're working in Unity and it's like time to clean up your project for release or for an update, or just maybe you just want to tidy up your project, right? And you see that one, you're deleting things, and you have that one thing that you, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I shouldn't delete that, but you do. If you're like me, you do it anyways. And then next thing you know, you find out it's a mess. You created a huge mess in your project because you actually did need that thing. Well, with the validator, you can easily go in, figure out where all those things need to be fixed and bulk fix them. Another great way to look at the bulk fixing ability of the validator is to, like, imagine you have a project where it's not an error. It doesn't have to be an error, but maybe you have something in your project that you want to root it out, right? You want to get it out, and you have to task some developer to do that. And that's going to take that developer a lot of time, especially if it's a big project and it's all throughout the project, right? So here you can, again, write a validator or write a rule that says, okay, find all of those things and get them out in bulk, root them out in bulk. And I think that's going to be a really, really powerful time saver for a lot of people, as you can probably imagine. We have a lot of built-in rules. Those built-in rules will catch a lot of issues right out of the gate. They're also configurable, and we're also learning, we're getting ideas from the community all the time, and we're thinking ourselves, what kind of built-in rules can we continue to add to the validator so that right when you open Unity, put it in there for the first time, immediately it's going to start catching things, things like missing materials or missing scripts, or a lot of the things that we commonly experience when working in Unity. And lastly here, ease of use. It's super important. We are strong believers in that. And, we build our tools with this in mind. So we talked earlier about making tools, they're easy to use for people, and then people will use them, right? And that applies here also, for instance, developer, he might be frustrated, he might be frustrated with the other members of the team, the designers, the artists, I don't know. They keep making this mistake, right? And it's frustrating the developer. So he can write a simple rule, right? Using one line of code in most cases, with a little message that'll pop up and say to that developer or that designer, hey, you forgot to add this, or you forgot to do that. And then they'll put it in, and that'll end the frustration for that developer, right? So you can begin to see again the power of the validator. And those are the things that, not to knock designers, you guys, but it's a common scenario that we probably all have experienced if you're working on a team. So next, we put together a short video, some examples of the validator, so you can see it in action. in the video here, you can see several examples of how the validator works in your project. Common scenarios in game development, like deleting a game object you shouldn't have and creating a null reference, or accidentally moving a player spawn point outside of a playable area, creating a material in a wrong folder, making it difficult for team members to find, or maybe just deleting a required file out of the project folders. These types of scenarios and many more, of course, they can be easily discovered and resolved by using built-in or custom validation rules that can alert the others in the project with the messages, just like we talked about earlier. You can also see here how the validator can easily be configured to scan your project in any way that makes sense for you and your teams. We're pretty excited. I've said it a bunch of times already. We're excited about it because we just think it's going to be a huge addition to our product line and just be really great for developers. And before we're finished here, I want to make mention of one more thing, and this is the idea of quality of life when it comes to working in a Unity project. I think it feeds nicely in with our theme here today too. When we set out to make our products, one of the reasons we made them the way we did was related to experience that our founders were having. They were actually making a game in Unity, and they kept making tools to optimize their workflows. And one day, they realized, there should be an easier way to make these tools. And that's where Odin was born from that. And today, people who use our products, they seem to really get great joy out of them. It's evident in the reviews, the feedback that we get. We don't put this here to brag, but it makes a big difference for a developer. And a happy developer is going to be a more productive developer and less prone to making those mistakes. Today, studios are moving faster than ever. They meet demands. They're often the user experience in the game. It can suffer from the shortcuts being made, to satisfy those time constraints. Better tooling, proper workflows are going to free up your teams to get back to working on the important parts of your game so that when it ships, your users get the best experience possible. So we hope today, in the short time that we've had, we've given you some good insight into how having the proper tooling and doing your job right is essential in moving fast without breaking things and freeing up time to work on the things that matter most in your projects, or most to your players, right? Your end users. And so that said, it's perfect timing here to end this segment and introduce our next presentation. So we all know we can never catch and eliminate all the bugs and errors that are in our projects, because some will always get through. And this is where our friends at Backtrace and Helpshift come in to help close that loop on eliminating those bugs and errors in your project for good, and also making sure your users get the best possible experience when the project is released. So at this point, we will turn things over to Oz with Backtrace to share how their products work in more detail. So thank you guys all so much for your time.
All right. Thanks, Brian, for the introduction. So hello, everyone, and thanks for being here today to listen to what each one of us have to offer you to make the gaming experience better for your customers. So my name is Oz. I work at Sauce Labs, and I'm a game dev evangelist at Backtrace, which is a part of Sauce Labs. So today we're going to take a look at how Backtrace can help you ensure success by detecting errors and crashes, and why it is really important to detect them. So when we speak about that, I want to actually jump straight into numbers, because when I say success, every studio wants to measure success in numbers. So I'm going to speak about numbers. And here's one of our Backtrace's customers, Roblox. And during the period that they started using Backtrace, they saw a phenomenal 54% increase in their monthly average users, or MAU. So partnering with Backtrace provided Roblox with the tools and resources they needed to efficiently handle millions of incoming crashes. And in fact, it's not just Roblox, but many other brands use Backtrace. So about 17 of the top 25 game studios, in fact, in the world are already using us. And some of the names are listed out here. So the question that arises is, why do all of these brands, they trust us? And what are we providing that helps them in ensuring success? So to answer that question, we need to first take a look at what the data tells us about negative gaming experience and the issues that make users frustrated. So a survey sponsored by HP gives us insights into what mobile users feel about user experience. And many users simply, Jackie, can you, yeah. So there was a question that they asked in survey. So which of the following reasons are the reasons that you stop using an app? So many users simply stop using an app when they encounter issues, right? So the top two issues when they found out were these, that the apps crash or they stop responding, and errors occur when using the app. So in fact, 53% of them, when they were asked further, they simply said they removed the app. And this is a big number indeed. So imagine all those dollars that the company spent in acquiring a customer. And with issues like these going undetected, you're simply losing them. So what we have learned in general is that users have very low patience, and a majority of them stop using an app when it fails to work the first time. So they tend to become disappointed. Click next, please. So they tend to become disappointed when this happens, right? So it's like about 16% of the users said they would simply try like an application, they would not try more than once. So that's about it. And so when they become disappointed, what happens? So they would start deleting the app, and whatever you've actually paid is all gone, it's lost revenue, right? So this is all turning into a negative gaming experience, of course. And when you acquire new customers, you're actually, it can be 20 times more expensive than simply retaining them. So imagine if you were to increase customer retention by just 5%, it could lead to an increase in profits by up to 95%. So as you learn from the data, the top causes of user frustrations that lead to a negative gaming experience are errors or bugs, crashes, and crashes which could be due to any number of reasons, including applications running out of memory, and ANRs, or application not responding, or in simple terms, they are what you call as application being like frozen or got frozen, right? So, and if these are not addressed, then you can see a game to fail, and there are countless examples of games that have received bad reviews and bad ratings due to them being buggy. So now that we've identified the issues that cause the game to fail, so let's see how we can fix that, fix the problem and ensure success. So this is where we as Backtrace come into the picture to address each one of these issues. All right, so what are we? We are a cross-platform error management solution, and we are the only ones that do support all platforms, including Switch, PS4, PS5, console, desktop, WebGL, and server platform. And we support any game engine or no game engine, including supporting native code and all programming languages. So we provide real-time error reporting, so you can proactively identify problems, implement quicker fixes, and deliver more seamless gameplay experiences. And by prioritizing critical errors, you're accelerating the time to first response, and eventually you're drastically reducing debugging time. So by integrating Backtrace, what else you get? You can improve average time to resolution and spend less time identifying in-game problems and then more time fixing them. So Backtrace helps you achieve, therefore, achieve like a higher customer satisfaction and higher player retention. And you can automate time-consuming tasks and reduce the backlog driven by traditional email-based support. So by integrating us, what you're getting is you're improving software quality through automated capture, because we capture all of that logs and all of the data for you, and provide insight about impact and essential context investigation all in one interface. And of course, you get full visibility for your customer support team and the developer team. And last but not the least, we also support numerous third-party integrations, including Jira, Hack and Plan, Slack, Teams, to name a few. So Halfbrick, you might have heard of them. They are the makers of the hugely successful Fruit Ninja game. So they are one of our customers as well. And you can see how they actually found success with Backtrace. So they used to earlier, they used to manually reproduce all of the major bugs, and they had to retrieve the logs manually too. So spending half a day replaying like a 15-second of game just to get to the point where the crash occurred is not a productive use of time indeed, right? So especially if it's a smaller team. So, but with Backtrace integrated, they were able to save significant amount of time, as all of that manual work is now done by Backtrace, including automatically adding issues to support tickets. Now, I'd like to show you how it's possible to integrate Backtrace into Unity project. And all you have to do is essentially you got to create a free trial account, import Backtrace into Unity, and with a couple of steps, you actually have Backtrace working and providing real-time error reported to our Backtrace web console. So Jackie, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So what happens behind the scenes? So the dashboard shows you this is what our dashboard looks like. The next, right. So right here, this is how our dashboard looks like. And you can see here, there's like two numbers that you would actually have to take a look at. So there's one, the first one, which says 98.56 is the error-free users. The other one is the error-free application launches. So you would be most concerned when, for example, these two numbers drop like drastically below, like maybe about 50-60%. Usually you want these numbers to be as close as possible to the upper 90s so you could deal with the edge cases. And at Backtrace, that's basically what we try to help you out to achieve those higher numbers in the higher 90s. And this view, this is what we call as a triage view. So this is where you can see all of the errors, its occurrences, a timeline of the errors, and pretty much a lot of other information, as well as I'll actually walk you through in detail in the next slide. So here's one of our strongest points that Backtrace offers you, which is something called deduplication. So imagine your game is producing like 1 million or more errors. And instead of seeing 1 million errors being reported individually, our algorithm like groups all of them and shows you as one single error. We call that as a fingerprint. And you can see here in this example, there is a fingerprint, and then there is that errors by application. It shows 2288 errors. So there's like, it's grouped into one, and then you can of course click on the fingerprint, and then it gives you further details as to like what caused, like what was the platform of that in particular instance, whether it was a PC, mobile, or what version of your game it was running, and so on and so forth. So let's go to the next slide. In the triage view, you can also see the activity chart showing the number of occurrences of that particular error over a time period, the description, and any tags you want to assign, like a GPU error, out of memory, ANR, critical, or something along those lines. And in addition to it, you can even assign a Jira ticket to the bug and mark the status as in progress or resolved, or assigned to a particular team member as well. So let's go to the next slide, please. All right, so what else we have? We provide save views. So you can share it with other users, and each team member can see things relevant to what they are interested in. And right here, we see another example of what we have as attributes. So we provide you with the ability to add your own custom attributes, and you can use that in your report to better understand your game. You can report any variable from your game, in fact, as an attribute. So we have, we're going to take a look at what is called as a debug view. So this is the most important of all, because right here, what it allows you to do is to dig deeper into the errors once you understand what those errors look like. And you can see here, if you were to take a look at, there's a call stack, there's threads, and a console-like output, almost like how you see the debug console in Unity, for example. So that's all of the errors, whatever you see in the Unity debug console, you're going to see it right here, and that too in real time. So let's say your gamers are playing a game and they encounter an error. You as the developer can actually log onto a web console and see those things as it happens. So if someone is getting error, you can see those errors live in real time. And we also have what is a link to the source code, and they can point you which line number you're at and what line actually produced that error. Next slide, please. All right, so we have this other feature called Breadcrumbs. So the Breadcrumbs, it can report certain gameplay related metrics or data. For example, it can report which level you have completed, whether an object was spawned, total score at a certain point, and so on. So you can use that information to further dig in deeper as to like, oh, this player completed certain level, or and then the error started coming up, or things like that. Or it can just be for pure metrics. So in this screenshot here, as an example, you can see the information that's being provided right here is a number of asteroids. So this is an example of an asteroid demo, and the number of asteroids spawned at a certain point before the error came up. So you can use that further to dig deeper and see like what happened, why did it actually stop, or what error came up after 53 asteroids were generated. Next slide, please. So this also is an important aspect of our product, the attachment view. So it allows you to see any files that were attached from the game. So in my experience, this is very a useful feature because I can attach game data, saved game data specifically to capture the state of the game when an error was encountered. So, and then you can use that information to analyze if there was anything that went wrong, right? Of course, you can attach any other file, like any file that you'd like. In this example, you can see here, there's a data.txt, this is a JSON file. So all of those were attached. And of course, our SDK also allows you to include screenshots from the game to further help you in troubleshooting the bug. So, so far, we have seen how Backtrace helps you in detecting errors and crashes, the #1 concern of any gamer, by the way, and that's what the data tells us. And by integrating Backtrace, you're not only making your game better, but you're ensuring users will have a positive gaming experience, right? So, but there's more to the story, and we're not done yet. A couple of slides earlier, if you recall, I mentioned how games with errors and crashes also lead to users providing bad reviews. Now, is there a way you can turn that around and reduce the likelihood of bad reviews and potentially even convert them into great reviews, right? So this is where our friends from Helpshift will steer you in that direction. So I'll let Ed take over here and demonstrate how their product provides in-game player support, helps you collect user feedback, and ensure that you offer an overall positive gaming experience to users. Over to you, Ed.
Thanks, Sylvan, Brian, Oz, for a great overview, as well as to the attendees today for your time and attention. My name is Ed Hartman, and I lead channels in our gaming practice at Helpshift. Let's see if I can stick the landing to explain why it makes sense to provide a combined overview of the 3 different Unity VSPs. We've already seen how Odin and Backtrace help developers build better games. And hopefully by the end of our presentation, you'll see that Unity plus Odin plus Backtrace plus Helpshift will deliver a better player and developer experience. Jackie? All right. A number of the team members have already shared some of their NASCAR slides, as it were. These are only a fraction of the gaming companies who leverage Helpshift. Whether it's an indie to a quadruple A studio or publisher, they can leverage Helpshift for a better player support and better player feedback experience. Go beyond bug reporting, collect user feedback. Player feedback is critical to game success and adoption. It's also a huge challenge to collect. Player feedback can be found across a wide range of social channels and app stores. It's sometimes difficult to accept negative feedback, but the worst type of feedback is silence. Player experience will make or break your retention. Well-executed player support and feedback strategies can drive game adoption and ultimately lead to financial success. Feedback will help your developers build better games. QA can more quickly replicate, and support staff will better address frustrated players and player frustrations. Take a moment and read the first 5-minute quote. I think it illustrates this point nicely. The first type of feedback is tied to game stability, or as I like to refer to it, the bits and the bytes. And we heard a lot about that earlier with Odin at the front end and Backtrace in the middle and prior to release. Bug visibility, bug severity, player status, knowledge of this speeds up the replication and resolution process. It also directly impacts player retention, and it's important to catch bugs as early as possible. Post-GA, release bugs are painful, reflect poorly on the brand, and are more costly to resolve. These facts highlight why feedback is required early and often. Other components of feedback, and this is really where Helpshift shines, is around player sentiment or smiles per hour. Is the game compelling? Is it too easy or too hard? Are the weapons and character selections easy or interesting? Is player cheating or bullying a concern? Will you be able to unlock your game potential to scale and grow at speed? Can you limit churn? Can you understand player frustrations and policy friction? Those are the keys to limiting churn. Finally, allowing a player direct in-game feedback increases feedback quality, quantity, and it also increases your ability to save frustrated players. I was speaking with a developer recently, and he was pulling his hair out, frustrated by the vague feedback he saw on Discord or some of the app stores or in the forums for angry players. It's time consuming and distracting to read it, and negative feedback, it's difficult to ensure you get all of the context. It's often missing, and limited information limits your ability to solve the issue or address the issue. It's damaging to your game equity, and if your players vent online, less gamers will want to play the game. So the goal here is to catch it early and fix it early. Next slide. All right. Don't just monitor the App Store reviews and forums. Have a direct feedback. I mean, you're playing the game, so why not leverage the game for your feedback? Your product experience is in game. From the first moment you start testing, your internal staff or friends and family all the way through to GA, you now have a seamless system in place to capture that feedback, and it's real time. User feedback can be that flywheel of innovation, and it's critical to building games that your players will not only enjoy, but they will love. If you can nail product market fit, affirm your product vision, you'll be able to iterate faster. And a lot of us already know, Apple rejects 40% of the first-time apps and game submissions. The feedback at the beginning of that process is critical, and it will absolutely increase your first-time acceptance odds, shorten your time to launch, and ultimately, we all know, time to market matters. First to market wins. In-game user feedback removes or significantly reduces the player and the QA replication dance, where more data is required, more data is asked, and all that's going to do is frustrate your players and your QA staff. And the developers are going to be like, I can't fix it. I don't know what you're talking about. This further illustrates the point. Industry research points this out as well. Most bugs, errors, and crashes, even today, remain unreported because it's too hard and frustrated players either give up or in extreme cases, they uninstall. The in-app SDK provides this metadata so that developer, QA, player dance is over. You can troubleshoot bugs faster. You'll know because it's in-app. Well, you don't even have to ask because you'll know it's iOS or it's Android. You'll know what software version the SDK is running, the game is running, or of the operating system of the phone or the device or the hardware. You'll know how much memory is being used, if it's Wi-Fi or cellular. and many, many more. Much of that feedback without a Helpshift tool is lost, or it doesn't have context. You also probably want to know if you're dealing with a noob or an influencer. Is this a whale or a freemium player? So that you can better prioritize your resources to address those that have the biggest economic impact. Ultimately, you'll get more. You'll get better, faster feedback, which leads to better game development. We'll now cover the benefits of the Feedback SDK versus play testing alone. It's all about time, budget, and quality. These are the three critical aspects in every testing project. They matter regardless of where you are in the release cycle. Why? Because if you gather feedback directly in app, there's more data you can use to improve the game. There are better chances for identifying problems, and this leads to faster error resolution and ultimately what we all care about, a better player experience. The in-app user feedback tool removes the back and forth as we talked about earlier. Depending on the technical background and speed of the response to testers, the conversion can take, I don't know, days, weeks, months. That can be eliminated because you're going to get that data up front when you need it. With 500 beta testers from all over the world, people could be sending feedback through random Dropbox screen account uploads, WhatsApp files, PDF to emails, carrier pigeons, who knows? You have to gather all this information and log them into one place, sort through them to find if any of it is actionable. And if you're shipping a new game or an app build every 5 to 7 days during that beta testing phase, as is recommended, the mess, and that's what it is, can pile up. Helpshift customers report that standardized bug reporting can save up to 45% of their time when they're at this cycle, 45%. Next slide. These customer reference stories highlight the value of feedback, whether it's Hutch, Half Brick, heard that a couple of times today, or Playrix. Those studios understand the power and the value of data. They share data across multiple departments to improve game delivery and player experience. The common theme here, you can read them. I'll pause a little bit. The common theme is collecting and sharing data, sharing that feedback broadly across the entire organization and breaking down the silos from the player to the QA, to the dev, to the support functions. Here's a representative of a few feedback workflows that you can see, and they're not beautiful. In subsequent webinars, we're going to do very, very deep dives, and we'll show you how to build these things, and we'll show you what all the possibilities are. But these are just a few, right? And their themes, and everyone is going to have a different type of workflow or feedback that you're looking for. But this is giving you an idea of what the possibilities entail. You can't just collect data and take action. The action has to be seamless. The feedback loop process must be shared, as we talked about, across the entire organization. This feedback loop allows you to maintain a bug log, recording, reviewing, prioritizing, categorizing, not all bugs are created equal, and efficiently tracking bugs. Tagging the feedback submissions based upon priority, keep saying it, right? Is it a noob? Is it an influencer? Is it a whale? No more digging through email for feedback to create a customized view and so on. Filters, all of that stuff that take up time and slow down. You don't have time to solve these bugs, crashes, and hangs. An example could be that with the Helpshift tool, you can create smart views that look at high rankings versus low rankings, or your Android community versus your Apple community, or your PC versus console. We can go on whales versus mid-tier whales, whatever it is. You can slice and dice the data the way you need to see it. It covers this feedback element, and you'll get this before launch, during launch, and after launch. But as you start to get players into the game, that's when it's most critical. You need to have a system in place from the get-go to answer any questions that your players have, your dev has, your QA has, so that, again, you can shorten the release, the time to value, the time to player cycle. Next. One more. Thank you. Once the game has been launched, it's time to provide player support. It can't be an afterthought, or you're going to struggle to retain players. As seen from the feedback, player support is best delivered in-game. Players who receive in-game support play more, have higher CSAT, and ultimately spend more. A frictionless gamer experience keeps the player in the game and resolves the issues faster. Provides unlimited scale with technology versus people. You never know if you're going to be the next Pokemon Go. So why hire a bunch of people to support your players that haven't shown up yet, or that are going to play because it's summertime, and by the time you onboard the staff, that window, that ship has sailed. Technology allows you to scale up or down seamlessly and frictionlessly. It also improves agent productivity. Ultimately, Helpshift delivers unmatched agent productivity by providing your agents the information they need to solve the player issues. It's all about triage. Better triage results in better time to first response and total resolution times. Triage, along with industry-leading self-service, allows players, agents to focus their time on the players where the resources matter the most. While all of us want to save the whales, Helpshift helps you help the whales. There's a lot of content on this slide and enough to support a subsequent webinar. But the key takeaways are that FAQs are your first line of support. Smart Intents, which is a patented technology from Helpshift, can rapidly determine your player intent and route them down the proper path to resolution. And it greatly assists with triage. Quick Search Bot is designed for people, I don't know, like me, that never have time or could be bothered to read FAQs. But again, look at bullet 1. That's your first line of defense. So giving them another bite at the apple. Custom bots drive self-service. And we've already talked about, we have a really great ticketing platform that helps agents, and we've covered a lot already in the feedback. So we'll continue on. The last slide that I really want us to focus on is this one. Please allow me to share a little bit of context. As you may be aware, Helpshift is deployed across greater than 500 unique studios, and we're installed in thousands of games. What you're seeing here is the patented Helpshift Smart Intent tree. The data presented is from the top 100 Helpshift customers across all of their games by issue volume in the year 2020. In the year 2020. The first column is the percentage of all player outreach. The center column represents the primary support category, and the far right represents the specific player issue. It's color coded. And ironically, that color coding, if you add it all up, is 40%. Why are we focusing on this? And what is the purpose of this webinar? We're doing this because Backtrace and Odin fix these critical issues. Gameplay issues and feedback, whether it's bugs, crashes, and hangs, account for 40%, but they're also the most underreported. Think about that. They're also the most underreported. If we can work together, Odin, Backtrace, Helpshift, we can have a significant, not a marginal, but a significant impact in the developer world as well as in the player community. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Sylvain. Sylvain?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Thank you very much, Ed, and thank you also to Brian and Oz. You guys made like clear and really good presentation. Thanks to Jackie as well that you did the logistic. So now we'll move into Q&A. So let's start with the first question. Just give me a sec that I can find it. So question, how does Backtrace and Helpshift integrate and how does it work? I guess the question is for Ed slash
Yeah.
us.
I'll take that. That's really a great question. Backtrace and Helpshift integration is I talked a little bit about 1+1. That's definitely an example of a 1+1 is 3. And I know we talked about that earlier, and subsequent sessions, we're going to do a deep dive on the integration, how you tie those two together. But I'll give you just a teaser. When deployed, Backtrace is going to collect the logs for all the players, and it's going to do it in an automated format. The players in game are going to be able to get that if the SDK is in the game. If Helpshift is likewise an SDK that's in that game, the player can report it. All of this data is going to be pushed not to the support organization, but to the QA and the dev teams. So it's going to eliminate some of the backlogs that you're going to see when you have a major crash or bug issue. That doesn't go to the support organization, goes directly to the QA where they can more quickly replicate it. And then Helpshift is going to be that device or that bridge to report back to the player when the issue's been resolved. In the link I'm going to put into the chat, you'll see some very detailed documentation about how to tie those two together. And like I said, we'll do a deep dive on this in the next session.
Thank you.
I'd like to add something else here, Sylvain,
Yeah,
if
go ahead.
you can give me
Yeah.
a minute.
Sure.
So the other thing that is really useful is that if there is an error or something that's encountered in a game with Helpshift integrated there, so instead of the user going and venting it outside in a forum or something, they have a medium to vent it out through the chat box. They can say, hey, this is an error, that's what we got. And then the Helpshift, like they actually collect all of that, like they go through that. So once Backtrace data is collected, the team actually takes a look at, okay, this is the issue, and they resolve it. So then there is a message that goes back through Helpshift saying, hey, this has been resolved. And in addition, there's also a possibility for the developer to grant something like a point or some free level unlocked or something like that. So some reward that they can give back as an appreciation for telling them that, okay, this is the issue that they actually encountered.
And everything to avoid a churn, everything so
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
keep the customer happy.
Yeah, and if I could just build, I did put that into chat. So if anybody wants to grab that while we're still on the session, enjoy. Thanks, Sylvain. Thanks,
My
Oz.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Second question is, how do we get started with these tools? So I'll take this one. One of the things that Odin, Backtrace, and Helpshift has trial version. We're gonna provide the links when we send all the recording to you guys, so you're gonna have access to it. So you can download the trial versions. The other thing, as far as when you get to, once you tried it and you want to get more info about pricing and all that, either you communicate with your client partner at Unity, or you go on the website and you'll get the info, or you get onto the Unity website to be able to do the acquisition. So that would be the best way to get started. You guys have anything you add on that to, no, okay, good. So this one is for Odin. What size of the project need to be where you think to start using a tool like Odin? Is it any project, or you recommend a size of the project?
I'll take this one. I'm Tor. Brian mentioned me earlier, the CEO of Odin and one of the original founders, or CEO of Serenix that make Odin. Really, the validator and Odin Inspector itself as well is useful in any size of project, even small, tiny things that you just do like for a day or for a game jam. It can be enormously useful, but it also scales up to like enormous projects. Like it's built to function really well in both small projects and in huge projects of 50, 100 gigabytes with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of assets. So of course, the degree of tooling that you want to create for any given project varies, right? Like it's worth spending more time to use these tools to create a custom setup for your specific project when it's a large one. But even the out-of-the-box experience is definitely worth it, even in small projects.
Thank you. You actually answered two questions, because the other, one other question was about performance and validation time on projects with over 50 gig of assets. So you kind of answered it with what
Oh,
you just said
yes.
about the
It,
ability of handling huge projects.
Yeah, to be clear, if it's a 50 gigabyte project, it is going to take some time to scan the whole thing, because we have to wait for Unity to load, and it's a massive project. So no matter what, it's going to take a little bit of time. But as it scans in the background, you can do work while it's doing that.
Very good. So I'm looking, one thing that we looked at, and that's not necessarily a question because I don't see other questions, but one comment I'd like to see, if you, Jackie, can go back to the previous slide, or the slide that we have the chart that Sarah put together, not this one, but the one with the workflow. Oh, yeah, this one, sorry. Yeah, so very important for everybody on the call to understand that obviously we talked about integration and use of tool, but they're not, they can be used separately without one or the other. The thing is that we presented is how they work together and how they can bring value to a game development. And as you can see on the slide here, you have, like the workflow to develop the game and where you could use the tools, but it doesn't mean that either Backtrace or Helpshift, you need to wait to that step in the development process to use it. It's a recommended one, but it could be for some cases, and where with discussion with people like at Helpshift and Backtrace, where they could fit, it could fit. It's either could be before what you see there or after. That's only a representation of what can be used. So on my side, I don't see any more questions. So unless Ed, Brian, and Oz, if you want to say a last word before we finish. So Brian, let's go in reverse order. So Ed,
right.
you start, and after that we'll go with Oz. You're still in the middle.
Okay, so hey, thanks again to the participants, the panel, as well as the attendees, and hope to see you on our next webinar series that is going to be deeper dives on each of the individual tools.
Oz?
Yeah, so thanks everyone for attending this. And for those who are interested trying out Backtrace, we actually offer a free trial, and you can go to our website or go through the links provided. So you can sign up for a free trial and try us out. And if you have any questions, don't forget to join Discord, and we have people who can answer that.
Brian?
Awesome. Yeah. So, hey, thanks again, everyone. I want to say, just to finish this off, I think there's something to be said about the people that we're working with here, in these different companies, our developers, you guys, the teams that we have. These are quality products. That's why we're VSPs. We have to go through a stringent process to be a VSP at Unity. And I just, it's a real pleasure and honor to be, affiliated with you guys. And I do think, I don't know if it came across, but, we care deeply about the community. Our community, and we love making things for them that make their jobs easier and make them happy. So hopefully that came across, and you guys got something out of this today. So thanks again, everyone.
So in closing, what I'll say is that thank you all, like we all said, thank you all for spending time with us. We know that you all have busy schedules, so we really, really appreciate. I'm repeating what we said about you're going to be notified for the next in-depth webinars that we're going to be putting together. So thank you all for attending, and look forward for the recording that we will be sending pretty soon. Thank you. Have a great day.